everybody, this is Carolina Millan, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Hustle. And I'm here today with David Wood. How are you, Dave?
I'm good in this moment. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for taking the time for this interview. And well, David has built one of the world's largest coaching businesses, business coachings. And he's been coaching thousands of people all over the world and high-performing executives, entrepreneurs, teams. I'm very excited to listen to your story because I hear that you were first working with Fortune 100 companies, and then something happened that you decided to get into coaching, and so I would love to hear what motivated you to do that, what inspired you to do that, and of course, what was your career before and now?
Yeah, I was on Park Avenue. I was very good at maths, so I went into actuarial science and studied statistics, probability, things like that. And then I was lucky enough to work for a huge consulting firm on Park Avenue, consulting to companies like Sony Music, Ford, Procter and Gamble, Exxon. It's pretty exciting for a 23-year-old, but there was something missing. I was good at it and I got to be with some really cool clients, but I stumbled on a personal growth course. And I didn't want to do it because they were smiling way too much and they all had name tags. And I'm like, this is way too weird. It's some kind of cult. They're just preying on the weak-minded. They're preying on self-help junkies. I'm not one of those people, but I'll get in and I'll get out. Well, fortunately, they cracked my cynicism. They helped me open my heart because I was already good at the left brain stuff and creating results. But they help me also take responsibility for everything or almost everything that I can in my life. So I didn't jump straight into coaching, but I found myself coaching people during the course. I couldn't help myself. People would get stuck in something personal and I'd say, well, this is what the teacher said yesterday. Have you tried that? Or what if you tried this? And I actually changed someone's life overnight. And it was so rewarding. I couldn't believe watching this woman's courage as she looked at confessing something to her partner. And I was like, wow, this stuff is good. And they told me if I did the third program, I could then come back and train as a coach. And I said, well, I'm hooked. So I'll go in and do that. Now, what I didn't realize is doing the third program would also change my life again. It was called the Self-Expression and Leadership Program. And to be honest, I didn't even know what self-expression meant. I'm like, what the hell is that? But now, if I'm not being me, something feels off. And that was the promise of the program. And I learned how to coach. And then someone gave me a business card showing me that someone was charging for coaching. And this was back in 1997. And I'm like, can you make money doing this? Is this a career? And it took me another year of exploring and finding out what I needed to do and quitting my job and going back to Australia. And then I met someone else who was coaching. And I said, all right, it's time. So I printed off some business cards, kept them in my back pocket. I hired a brand new coach who wanted someone to practice on. And I got my first coaching client to practice on. And the rest is history.
I think a lot of these seminars end up bringing that out of people. Like you didn't know you had that skill that you could coach people. You ended up helping someone other than yourself. So that is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which areas of coaching have you mastered at the moment? Like what is your main skill when it comes to coaching?
Well, I seem to be very good at the left brain results-oriented stuff. So a lot of people use me for business coaching, but I don't like to do just business coaching because there are a lot of coaches that can do that. The last 20 years, I've spent developing emotional intelligence and being more relational and studying authentic relating. So I work with people who usually want to up-level both. They want their business or their career to be better, and they want their life and their relationships to be great. They want to live a regret-free life. So I'm quite the generalist after 20 years. If someone wants something specific, like I need help with Facebook ads, you should go and get a specialist. But if you want someone to help you up level in life and business and you're not exactly sure what that's going to take, that's where I come in.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you see people face when it comes to, on one hand, balancing life and business, but also in each part of their lives?
Well, for sure, a lot of people have work-life balance issues, and they burn out. And I've been through burnout myself. And I've got one manager who's a director at a big company, and she wants to be a better manager. She wants to manage her team. In particular, a lot of people in the workplace could use help with tough conversations. Like, how do I ask for a pay rise? How do I tell someone what they're doing isn't working for me? How do I fire somebody? How do I hold someone accountable? How do I tell my boss that she's got the wrong strategy and it's going to hurt the company? So many tough conversations that we just weren't trained to do. So I do a lot of that. And then on the personal side, wow, there's such a range. Some people aren't happy with their finances and they want to create a wealth plan. Some people, they're not taking care of themselves. So they want to create an exercise nutrition plan or get into yoga. Some people aren't having as much fun as they want. Some people haven't created a bucket list and they feel like they're not fully living life. And some people want their relationships to be better, maybe with their partner, maybe with their kids, maybe with their coworkers. So again, I'm a generalist, and after 20 years, there's so many areas. What I care about is that people love their life. That's the main thing. So if they come to me with a goal that they're not very excited about, then I'm not excited about it. But if they come to me with something that's really going to make an impact on their life, then I'm enrolled.
I know that you know a lot about tough conversations. For people who don't quite get what that concept is, can you give a few examples or a few more examples?
Yeah.
And why are people afraid of those conversations?
A tough conversation is the one you don't want to have. In fact, it might be so tough it hasn't even occurred to you that you could have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
It just occurs to you as a problem. And you're thinking, oh, I don't like that person, or I don't like how they're treating me. For example, yesterday, I'd offered someone a coaching session as a gift, and they didn't show up. Now, I was a bit frustrated by that. That was half an hour of my time wasted. So I didn't like it. But then they emailed me saying, sorry, I didn't realize it was Thanksgiving. I've adjusted the call to next week. So they rescheduled it in my calendar system. And I was triggered. I didn't feel respected. Like, they're just assuming like now we're going to book another half hour and take up more of my time. I wasn't happy with it. And I noticed I was really unsettled. Now, the temptation, this is what most minds will do. I'll just cancel that session and say I'm busy. And I just won't deal with that person again. That was the easy way out.
Yeah.
And I, because of my own training and what I teach, I was like, that's not going to have me more connected with this person. So I had to go through my own worksheet. And I have a worksheet that's downloadable for free on the website if we want to give it away to your listeners. And it comes with a 4-step blueprint. I had to go through my own preparation, get my thoughts in order, and then I created a video and I sent it and I said, look, I'm not ready to rebook. This is what I'm concerned about. I'm not actually feeling respected, and I'd like to be. And here's how I think it could work for me and how I could feel good about rescheduling. How do you feel about it? I'm happy to chat about it. So there's like, it comes up all the time in life, tough conversations, but the mind just says, oh, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to be vulnerable with this person and share how upset I am. So there's one example. Some other examples personally, on the personal side, I want more sex. I want less sex. I want something specific sexually. I have a confession. I've broken an agreement and I'd like to clean it up. I've made a mistake. This thing that you do bugs me. I'd like you to lose weight. Right? These are all awkward things that that a lot of people sweep under the carpet because they don't know how to have the conversation and they're worried it's going to be a train wreck. In the work world, the business world, very similar issues. Something you're doing is bothering me. I'd like to be a part of this project, or I'd like to get more opportunities or responsibility. I'd like a pay rise. I screwed up. I messed up, and I want to let you know about it and see if we can clean it up. It's a very difficult conversation. Now, why we avoid, I've identified two broad reasons for why we avoid the conversations. One is a fear of discomfort. You know, you go and tell your partner that you cheated on them, you probably going to feel pretty awkward. Yesterday, creating this video, I spent 2 hours worrying about this and trying to work out how best to say it. I was worried about the other person getting defensive, feeling attacked, saying to me, you're just oversensitive. So fear of discomfort, and you might be worried about the other person getting upset or angry. And I know we all think we're worried about other people and we want them to be comfortable, but I think the reason we're worried about that is because then we're going to feel uncomfortable. Right. If someone's yelling at me or crying, that's awkward for me. So that's one category, fear of discomfort. The other category is fear of loss. If I have this conversation with this guy, I might lose the relationship. Worse, he might go and tell other people in the industry, that guy's a pain in the butt. You don't want to go anywhere near him. So I could lose some reputation. If I do tell my partner I've screwed up or I've made a mistake or I've broken an agreement, I could lose their love for a period of time while I get the cold shoulder and while they're angry. That's uncomfortable. Or I could lose the whole relationship.
Right.
If I tell my boss I screwed up, I could lose my job. I told one acquaintance that I didn't want her to come to my birthday party, or that I was worried about it because she seems to take a lot of the attention in the room. She's always like taking the attention. That was awkward. And I may have lost the relationship by having that conversation. If you go and confess to a crime, and I've coached people who've done this, and I've done it myself. I've done things that were illegal. I still do things that are illegal, but I did things when I was younger that I wish I could take back and I can't. And I've tracked down somebody and confessed and said I did something that was wrong and I'm sorry. And I could have been prosecuted.
Wow.
I could have gone to jail. So you could lose your freedom. So there are good reasons that we avoid the tough conversations. The thing is, I think the brain is very good at giving us all the negatives and showing us all the risks, but the brain isn't very good at showing us the upside.
No.
We weren't trained in the upside. And if you start to get present to the possibilities from these tough conversations, and then you start to practice them more and more and see how well it goes and how connected you can get and how you can get amazing results. Like you might get that promotion. You might feel more connected with your partner. Your partner might trust you more now because you've been honest. You can get such amazing upside that I find 9 times out of 10, roughly, in my experience, it's worth it to roll the dice, be vulnerable, and take that risk.
And there might still be a downside, but maybe the upside is even bigger. So
yes, you may still feel awkward, and you may. When I was 18, I cheated on my first partner, and it was such a horrible experience that I haven't cheated in the 33 years since. But I went and confessed the next day, and she broke up with me. So that's a downside, right? But I think that was what was supposed to happen. I then rented a tuxedo, got on a train for 6 hours and went up north to where she was staying with her family, carrying a dozen roses, and apologized and showed her that this was really upsetting to me as well. And I've learned my lesson, and she could count on me to be faithful for the rest of my life. And we got back together and we ended up getting married. So just because it's uncomfortable, or you get an initial negative result, I don't think that means that that's what was wrong.
Some things are just meant to be at a certain time and not before that. So that was a good thing. So what are some tips or advice you would give people who, they're maybe acting a little bit passive aggressive in their lives, that they're avoiding this, they're talking behind people's backs instead of facing these conversations? What would be a few steps? I know you have this blueprint on your website, but what else would you recommend?
For sure. Well, firstly, identify your conversations, because again, they're lurking, they're hiding, they're swept under the carpet. I might have just said, I don't like how this guy's just assumed you're going to reschedule a free session with me. I'm going to cancel it. It might not have even occurred to me, if I didn't have the training, that this is a tough conversation that needs to happen. So the first thing is identify them. And a great way to do that, grab a sheet of paper, blank sheet of paper. On the left side, write down, scan through everybody you know, family, friends, work, and just write down anyone that you don't feel really good about. You don't feel wonderful with them. It could be an aunt that you haven't talked to for a couple of years, and you just like, and then you realize, yeah, I didn't like how she treated me at the Christmas party. I didn't like that comment that she made, right? It could be your boss, because you don't feel respected the way your boss speaks to you. It could be your partner, and then you realize, oh, I've got to withhold. Like, I do have some secrets from my partner, and that doesn't feel good. Now, you don't have to have all these conversations, but this is just increasing your awareness. So write down all those people on the left-hand side. They could be from 20 years ago. Could be someone you hate from high school because they bullied you, right? I've definitely had a bully on my list, and I had a girl who dumped me twice and gave me the cold shoulder. Twice. So you can put anybody on your list that you like, and then next to their name, write down what the issue is for you. I don't feel respected. I feel betrayed, right? You've probably got some ex-partners that you're not feeling complete with.
Right.
You write down whatever those issues are, and then you don't have to start with the most intense ones. You don't have to go and confess to a crime. You don't have to confess to something that's going to have your partner break up with you. If you like, you can pick some of the easier ones. Some of the people who are more open and they're nicer and they're probably going to respond well, just so that you can get started in the game. And then as you work up your courage, you might then one day say, I'm going to pick the toughest one. Because once I've done the toughest one, for example, I coached somebody who, when he was a teenager, he committed a burglary. Snuck into someone's house with a friend. Actually, it was a friend of theirs. They snuck into a friend's house with another friend and stole a bunch of stuff. Now, I can see how as a kid, that might seem like a really exciting, good idea. I can see that. As an adult, he'd been carrying the guilt for that. Carrying that for years.
Yeah.
One of his scariest conversations he can imagine is going back to that kid and apologizing.
Wow.
So if you do decide to take on the toughest one, what you can then have is this incredible sense of freedom and knowing that if you can do that conversation, you can do any conversation.
What if it's somebody who passed and you didn't get to have it in person?
Yeah, if someone's passed away, then I suggest a letter. Write a letter. Also, if it's someone that you're just really scared about having the conversation with, and maybe you're worried you're not going to get the words right, or you think they're not going to listen to you, or they're going to yell at you, or whatever, you can write a letter as a first step. I coached some prison inmates sometimes, both by Zoom and actually going into the prison. And one woman was so terrified to talk to her mother about how every time she talked to her mother would say, "You're worthless. You're nothing. You've screwed up your whole life." And she didn't know how to set some boundaries and have a conversation. So I said, write a letter as a first step. Or these days, you can go to loom.com, loom.com, and you can create a video. And if you don't like the video, delete it and create another one until you get it right. As long as you end it with, if you start it with, these are my initial thoughts, and I'd be really happy to talk about this live with you. Or you can send me back your thoughts in another video. Then I think that's a great way to do it. So both for people who've passed and for people you're really scared of, I often will do a video as a first go at it. Now, you said, like, what are some tips? So the first tip is find out what your conversations are. But then if you like, I can give you the 4 steps. Firstly, you do the worksheet so that you get clear on what are you hoping will come out of this. Like, big difference if you tell someone, this is my hope. You're creating a possibility. And also, what are you afraid of? And then, do you have a request? So I'll go through the 4 steps using yesterday as an example. Ask for permission. That's step 1. And this is a good place to share your hope from your worksheet. So in the video, I didn't really ask for permission. I just said, here are my initial thoughts. I wanted to do this. But if I was doing it live, I might say, can we talk about this for a few minutes? And then I share my hope. My hope is that we can feel more connected and more on the same page, and that I can feel good about giving you this session. Right? That's something someone can get behind. That's a reason to have an awkward conversation. Step 2, share your fear or your concern. In the video, I shared my hesitation in bringing this up is that I might feel really awkward. You might feel defensive, and that's not my intention. So you just get it out on the table. Be preemptive. Step 3, share the issue and include a request if you have one. So I shared the issue when you just assumed we're just going to rebook and didn't acknowledge any potential impact for me of you not showing up. I felt disrespected. And my request is that you let me know, if it's true for you, that you do value my time in this session, that you do get the impact of you not showing up for the call, and that you'll show up for the next one. Those are my 3 questions. If you'd like to keep going, and I hope you do, because I'd like to support you. And then step 4, this is where you get curious and you listen. So I said, I'd really like to know how this lands for you. How is it for you to hear this? Is it weird? Is it great? Is it something else? And what are your thoughts about this? I'd love to hear them. Those are the 4 steps to having a tough conversation.
What happens then? I mean, when the other person responds to you, by the way, has this person responded yet?
No, not yet. It's Thanksgiving, so who knows? But I'm quite curious. See, the thing about one of the reasons conversations are tough is that you can't control the outcome. That's not my business. My business is to initiate. My business is to identify the conversation, and then 2, to initiate the conversation, and to do it, thirdly, as artfully as I can. That's my job.
Yeah.
I can't control what happens. So he might ignore it. He might not get back to me at all. He might be offended, or he might be excited that I'm being authentic and sharing. He might be apologetic. He might say, you're right. I just assumed, and I could have asked you, can we reschedule it? That's all I really wanted, right? We don't know, but we have a chance to get each other's worlds and to get more connected. I think we all worry that we're only going to get one shot at life. And in a way that's true, but in another way it's not. Just because it didn't go well the first time, like when I confessed to my partner that I cheated on her, it doesn't mean that that's the end of the road. You might just have to be with their upset, stick with them until they get through it, and be persistent. And then you might get a round 2. You might get a round 3. You might end up agreeing to disagree and saying, all right, we just have different worlds. This isn't going to work for either of us, but now we know that. Thank you for being willing to have this conversation with me.
So where can people find this blueprint? What's your website?
The website is playforreal.life. You can download the blueprint for free. And also, if something in this call has resonated with you and you want to up-level both your life and your career or business at the same time, I invite you to see if you qualify for a free discovery session. I don't charge for those because it's how I find the right people to work with long-term, and they're really powerful sessions.
Awesome. And the information for that is also on that website?
There's a big button that says request a session. And you know, Carolyn, I'm excited to announce I've finally joined the ranks of the podcasters.
Really?
So finally, I think it was about a month ago, I launched 5 episodes. Byron Katie is one, Jack Canfield's another one. So if you'd like to listen to me as well as the wonderful Carolyn, you can subscribe to Tough Conversations with David Wood at the same website, playforreal.life. Everything's there.
Awesome. Oh, well, maybe one day I can be on your podcast as well. That would be nice.
Yeah.
So finally, to finalize the call and the interview, 2 things. First, what is your vision, your long-term vision for your legacy with your coaching and what you teach people how to do? And second would be any advice, final words of advice or wisdom that you would like to share with people who are facing some difficult times.
My vision for the world is that we transform our attitude and start to see tough conversations not as something to run from, but as something exciting, as something. Someone said to me yesterday, "Oh, no, I can't say that because it's going to be a book title." And I said I'd keep it secret. But basically, you get energy from tough conversations. You get to grow. So I want to transform the way we look at it and have us go, "Oh, tough conversation. Let's see what could come out of that." So what we're doing is we're starting with corporations and offering a service which is called spot coaching or just-in-time coaching, where anybody in the whole team or the whole company can book a session with a coach when they have a tough conversation they're not sure how to have, even as soon as same day. And then they role play it with their coach and then go back into the company as a leader and they have that tough conversation. So I want to transform cultures around the world and through that to transform society. So it becomes a natural, normal thing. And people say, "Hey, want to have a tough conversation?" Yeah. So that's my vision. And through the website, if you have a team or a company, you can click on just-in-time coaching and find out all about that. My advice for people, was it for people who might be struggling?
People who might be struggling, whether it's with tough conversations they need to face or situations in life or business.
Well, I'll do a reveal and I'll share something personal. I'm struggling like hell right now. I mean, not in this moment. In this moment, I feel good, but I'm having trouble with health issues, with sleep and energy and all sorts of things. And I know what it's like to not know how to get through a day. So my advice, wow, I'm going to see if I have advice. No, I'll say here's what I do. If that's helpful for you, then great. What I do is I try everything I can. I reach out and I'm doing yoga, I'm doing nutrition, I'm doing exercise, I'm working with a therapist, I'm about to try my first medicine journey. I'm doing everything I can think of to heal. So I'm a fan of massive action. Don't be passive. Don't sit back and just hope that it's going to change, but take action. If you spend a year taking massive action and it doesn't work, I say keep going. What else is there? If it's important to you, whether it's getting your business off the ground or finding a partner or turning around your health or your finances, take massive action. I can't see why not.
Certainly. Thank you for sharing something personal. Of course, that's always appreciated. And thank you for everything today. That was great. That was very, very valuable. And I'm sure people are going to look at the awkward, tough conversations with a different light now. Thank you so much, David.
You're welcome. Thank you, Caroline. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Are you on social media at all where people could
Yeah.
connect with you?
Yeah, for sure. Instagram is _play for real.
Okay.
Twitter is the same, _play for real. So those are good places to find me.
Excellent, excellent. I will place all the links in the show notes in the description. So thank you once again to everybody watching or listening, and thanks to you, David, once again for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Pleasure.